All right, how do I analyze a primary source? This video is going to give you some tips on about half of the required primary sources. Okay, so the first thing is going to be, I have VIN notes, very important notes on the Pennsylvania documents. And so what I did is a little bit of background information for you. It's very short. That's 1 through 6, and then 7 through 11, the information is already there for you for each of the primary sources. It's already in the primary sources themselves. Now, y'all, this particular set of documents comes from John Hollett's book called Constructing the Past. And it's a great source, and I just went ahead and I'm giving him credit, and we're going to use his collection of documents. So this is important. You cannot ignore this. So for example, the first source is by Gabriel Thomas. And I'm telling you here that he was wildly successful. He evidently did quite well for himself. He owned a plantation of 1,000 acres. I would say that this farmer just did quite well. So things look pretty rosy for him. So that's the first one. There are several reasons in document 1 that would make you think, oh man, I'm on the next boat. This is a good thing. The second document is by William Morley that I used in the first document, or not first document, one of the videos I just did. And William Morley, according to my cheat sheet, my ads here, my tips, is that he had a bit of a problem with stealing and drinking. So, okay, well, he did pretty well for himself, I guess, but do we want to really trust what he's saying here? And he writes primarily about black slaves. So even if the first paragraph has information about, in the beginning, this was what it was like for an indentured servant. But then he slides into, this is when indentured servants were not needed as much anymore because plantation owners realized that they could buy a black slave and they wouldn't have to pay them. And so that's their lives. Now, whether you're turned off by this and you think this is a real disadvantage, that people are property in the colonies, then that's yours to decide. But just know that about William Morley. Okay, document 3 is by Gottlieb Mittenberger. And Gottlieb Mittenberger talks about the trip over and what happens as a result. If you leave England and you have not signed a contract with someone that you will be indentured to, when you get to America, to Pennsylvania, then you will have to make your deals there. And this is not a pretty picture of what can happen to you and your family if you go together. And you might be separated from your children. So you have to be thinking about that. And remember, you're not thinking about your kids the same way you do now, because they're your heart now, but back then they were another mouth to feed. Okay, so that's document 3. Document 4 is going to be an advertisement for a runaway. Now, obviously not everybody was happy as an indentured servant, so some people were literally voting with their feet and running away. And there's a very detailed look at what they had with them, the little they had with them. So are you going to put that in the pro or the disadvantages? The fact that people will hunt you down if you decide to run away, and more than likely more time will be assigned to your indenture period of time if you have been on the run for quite a while. You'll have to make that up and then some. So you decide which side you want to put that particular document in. Again, paraphrased in your own words, complete sentences. Document 5 is called American Husbandry. Please make sure you look up the word husbandry because it's not getting a husband. It's not that you probably have a good chance of getting a husband if you're female and you're going as an indentured servant, but that's not what it means. So this is a promotional leaflet, as I share in the VIN, very important notes. And as a promotional document, what they're trying to do is give you a good spin on the colonies. And so as someone who's really thinking about this, thinking the decision through completely, you have to realize that somebody's written this to convince you to go. So everything, it looks like a utopia over there. And be careful. You're going to put this on the pro side or the con side of going. And you have to decide if you really think, looking at the other documents of people who've been there, if this really is a good source for you to make the decision to go. So that's document 5. I mean, basically, that's propaganda. Okay, document 6 is going to be by William Penn. Okay, and William Penn is writing about how to construct a house. And it's very interesting because he's quite detailed here. And then he gives you how much that house would cost you. And of course, you're working with a carpenter, but he gives you the exact pounds and shillings that it will take to build the house and the barn and then the materials itself. And so it's interesting because you kind of look at the pounds and shillings and go, well, I have no idea if I could afford that. Okay, this is where thinking, all right, I'm going to go back to the first document and I'm going to look at how many shillings I'll make a week. And if I'm a bricklayer or I'm a sawyer or I am a farmer or whatever, the first document by Gabriel Thomas will tell you how much you're actually going to make a week. So you can decide whether or not you can afford to build that house, which will last about 10 years without repairs. It's like, okay, I'm in a house for 10 years without repairs. It sounds like a good deal to me, but could you afford it once you're through with your indentured servant time? So that will give you, and that is really important, y'all. So you're using document 6, but you have to go back to document 1 to figure it out. I think you'll be really surprised at how long it would take you to save up for your house. Very different from now. Okay, and I'm going to stop there, and the next video will be on the charts, the map, and the pictures of the houses.